Manchester United are considering sacking Erik ten Hag. That is what's being reported in the last couple of minutes in the UK media. We will, of course, jump into this on today's video, but before we do, please smash a like, please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and let's get straight on into it. So as the video title says, and as I said at the beginning of the show, 2 or 3 different outlets in the UK, including The Times, which I will read for you right now, are reporting that Manchester United are now considering sacking Erik ten Hag and are lining up potential new managers. So I will read through the quotes first, and then we will, of course, break it down as a community, and we can all give our thoughts and all the rest of it. So it says, Manchester United are now considering alternatives to Erik ten Hag, who is thought to be on thin ice at Manchester United after overseeing the club's worst start to a season in 61 years. It says a senior source at Manchester United has said that 2 heavy defeats at Old Trafford this week by Manchester City in the league and Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup now leaves Erik ten Hag at risk of being sacked. It goes on to say the club is understood to view Ruben Amorim, the Sporting Lisbon manager, and Zinedine Zidane as the new potential replacements for Erik ten Hag, although the situation is hugely complicated by the uncertainty over the ownership. It then goes on to say that Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos company is waiting to complete the purchase of a quarter of the club and hopes to take responsibility for decisions over footballing matters such as the manager's position. It says the club have been adamant that they are committed to Ten Hag and believe that he can turn the form around. Blah, 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 blah. What else have we got there? It says, originally Erik ten Hag was not regarded as being under pressure, but after the defeats of the past week, he is now under extreme pressure and is treading on thin ice. I mean, I wasn't expecting to read this today. I really, really wasn't. I probably should be, because we know what Manchester United are like. We know what the Glazers are like. And you know what? They're probably rubbing their hands here. They're probably sat there tonight thinking, this is the best possible thing for them. All of the blame from the mainstream media, from TalkSport, you know, the Gabby Agbonlahors of the world, all of those people who are paid to speak to the masses, right? These people are paid to go on radio, to talk to normal people about football and give their opinions. And they're all saying Erik ten Hag should be sacked. They're all saying, you know, he's wasted all this money. He's got no style of play. Get him out of the club. They're not even Manchester United fans. They probably didn't even watch the game last night. They probably haven't watched any of the matches over the last couple of seasons, other than when it was maybe playing against their club. But the mainstream media has always had it out for Erik ten Hag. We know that none of them wanted him. We know that they all wanted Mauricio Pochettino from the very off. And to have these stories come out the eve after a 3-0 defeat to Newcastle United, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. We spoke about this on the show this morning, and you know what? I do think Erik ten Hag has lost the dressing room. I love Erik ten Hag. I think I think he was the future for Manchester United. I thought how he came in, you know, how he disciplined people like Sancho, how he made them run after that Brentford game, you know, all of these signs of trying to turn this bunch of babies, ultimately, this bunch of overpaid babies into a proper, elite, discipline-focused football team. It's just going to go out the window. They don't react well to it. And I think that this just happens, the same cycle over and over and over again. A new manager comes in, the players know that they need to impress, otherwise they're not going to play. They get, they get comfortable, and then the heads drop. A couple of defeats, and then they're all blaming the manager. You know, you've got all of these stories that coming out today. Andy Mitten was saying that apparently the dressing room were unhappy with Erik ten Hag's comments about Casemiro. If anybody doesn't remember, last week against Man City, I think it was against Man City. I can't remember what game it was. But anyway, Erik ten Hag brought off Casemiro at half-time. And after the game, he was asked why he was taken off. And he said that it was for footballing reasons and that they wanted to be able to play better football without him on the pitch. And apparently a lot of the dressing room didn't like that. You know, Casemiro's won, 3 Champions Leagues, multiple Spanish Cups. He's won more trophies than Erik ten Hag will ever win in his career, let's be honest. You know, he's got a close relationship with Varane. He's got a relationship with lots of other of those, players in that dressing room. And apparently they didn't like that. They didn't like the way that he was supposedly calling out one of the leading, ultimately our most decorated player at the club, other than Varane. You know, Varane and Casemiro have won more trophies than any player in that whole squad. Most of the players in our squad have won next to nothing other than Casemiro and Varane. And apparently, because Erik ten Hag came out and called him out after the game, saying that they took him off because he wasn't, able to play the football they wanted, kind of thing, they weren't happy with that. And all of these signs are now that he's lost the dressing room. I think that Erik ten Hag is the right man for the job. I think he should stay at the club. Yes, Zinedine Zidane, it's this fancy name that gets, floated round. Everybody's like, oh, he'll be great, blah, blah, blah. he can't even speak English. I'm sorry. I know that I'm sure there's players in the team that speak French and maybe he speaks Spanish. I don't know. But what happens to all of the English players? You know, Rashford, Maguire, Varane, not Varane, sorry, Luke Shaw, McTominay, like all of these people who don't speak another language. What do? Get in a translator? I don't know. Zidane was literally talking about this a couple of days ago, saying that he doesn't speak English. The story also goes on to say that Ten Hag is contracted until September 2025 on a salary close to £9 million. So to remove him will cost the club around £15 million. Crazy. I think this, right? I don't think anything's going to happen between now and Saturday. Obviously, we play Fulham on Saturday, but I said this before the Newcastle game. I said this and I will stick with this, right? I said, picture this scenario. We lose to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Take in mind this was before the Newcastle game kicked off. I said, we lose to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. That's now happened. We're out of that. Then we lose to Fulham on the weekend, which, you know what? I think we will, to be honest. Fulham away from home is a difficult game, no matter who you are. They're a good side. They've got a good manager. They've got good players. Every game in the Premier League is difficult, and we got 1 point against the top 10 last season away from home. So I'm expecting a loss against Fulham on Saturday. We lose against Fulham. We've then got to go away to Copenhagen. By this time next week, right, we could be out of the Carabao. Well, we are out of the Carabao Cup. We could be out of the Carabao Cup, which is done. We could be probably 12th or 13th if we lose to Fulham, which all but means we're out of the top 4 race, I would say, after 11 games, unless an absolute miracle happens, and we could be out of the Champions League. I would imagine at that point, these stories will amplify even more. And I think that at this point in time, maybe that this is just the press, Manchester United putting out these stories to try and encourage the players, trying to get a little bit more out of them just to back the manager. I think if we don't see a reaction against Fulham on Saturday, if we don't go out and see the players actively perform for that manager, I would say that he's probably going to be on his way out personally. This isn't what I want, but you know, the fact that this is already being talked about in the mainstream media now, crediting reliable sources within the club saying that they're discussing removing him. If the players don't react to that, then they clearly know that he's lost the dressing room. You know, if they like him as a manager, they will go to that game on Saturday against Fulham and they will give 150%. They will not lose that game. They will win it. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. But for me, as I've said to you before, guys, I said this to my friend yesterday who is a Newcastle fan. The blame starts at the top. First of all, it's the Glazers. Then it's the CEO. Then it's the director of football that doesn't happen. Then it's all of the people on the board. Ten Hag's at the bottom of this for me. The players are even more to blame than him. They throw all of these managers under the bus. They throw Mourinho under the bus. They've thrown Van Gaal. They've thrown Ollie, who they all loved, under the bus. Do not buy into this. It's an absolute disgrace. If they get rid of Erik ten Hag, this is exactly what the Glazers want. It's putting all of the blame on him. When was the last time you heard anything about a Glazers out protest? Somebody tell me in the comment section. When was the last time you saw a Glazers out protest? I haven't seen one for months. Nothing. All of the focus is on Erik ten Hag. All of the conversations are about whether he's the right man for the job. The Glazers spent 400 million. Oh, they're such good owners. You know, that's what TalkSport and those types of places say. It's an absolute disgrace. And we need to really, really be careful here because there's such an agenda against this person. And I think that a lot of these big media platforms do it for the clicks. They do it for the reactions. They do it to create conversations when really the conversation should be about the Glazers. It should be about the lack of director of football, the lack of CEO, you know? That's what should be being talked about. But they're never going to do that because it's much easier. It's much more entertaining to say, get Erik ten Hag out, sack the manager. Like, it's reactionary. And you don't really need a brain cell to be able to have that an opinion. They're not going to bother looking into why Manchester United haven't had a director of football. Like, they don't want to do that. It's not interesting. But yeah, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this story. Obviously, we will keep you updated on the channel as and when more news comes out. Please do make sure to smash a like. Please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and let me know your thoughts on this story. Do you think Erik ten Hag will be removed, or do you think this is just a last desperate attempt to try and get a reaction out of the players? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all a bit later.